we wanted to create a permissionless way for people to like get involved and put songs up. And so we made a joke name. We called it Audiato.
That's incredible. I love the amount of mushrooms you probably did and got stuck in some sort of outhouse related to the wilderness and came up with that. So congratulations. Welcome to episode 35 of Internet Explorers. We're live here every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time to talk about all the cool shit that's happened in the consumer crypto space over the past week. And there is always new and interesting things that happen. And this week is no different. This week I'm joined with an old friend, Cooper Turley of Coop Records. And I don't know, do you have a LinkedIn page?
I don't think I have a LinkedIn page that's relevant anymore. I do have one, if you'd like to see it.
We're looking.
I don't know if I'd push people there.
Well, we're going there right now. So he's quickly checking to see. We do stream to at least one, if not three people on LinkedIn every day. So for those people that are out there. Okay, we got a little update. We got the banner update.
It's looking good. Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, let's go.
Anyways, we're this piece scrolls your LinkedIn. We're going to dive into what you're up to at Coop Records. There's a couple of angles there. You've been very, very active in driving a lot of mints in the NFT world and using a bunch of these layer 3 boost, I don't know what tools we call them, distribution technology, seeing yourself throw yourself at that. So I'm interested to get into that conversation with you and then maybe a bit bigger. And then we're going to talk blanks. We're going to talk Scoop. We're going to talk Moonshot, Blast. I have no idea what we're going to talk about with Peace Doing Onchain. I expect it to be delightful. And then we're
looking at my Twitter here. First and foremost, this is a ghost town over there. If you want to get some real activity, you're gonna have to go over to Workcast, where the real ones are. You know, all right. So you'll get some more real time updates. You know, I got a mix I posted at 3 a.m. last night. Got some tips for founders on there. You know, all that good stuff. That's.
Did you just click the search bar and then or search link and you didn't get a search bar piece and then all of a sudden it magically showed up again?
The search experience is wild to me. Yeah, searching Cooper Turley, no ads, nothing like that. I was turning on notification survey and stuff.
Big time. So yeah,
you're gonna get there. You're gonna find my profile. I feel good. There you go. That's a channel. You're close.
Oh my god. This is a wild ride.
Okay, there it is.
Nice. Streaked.
Got a streak on, baby.
It's looking good.
Interesting.
So your primary you really are your primary Warpcast now. If we want the up-to-date thing, we're going to Warpcast.
Yeah, I'd say like 95% Warpcast, 5% Twitter.
That's dope.
Okay, well, let's dive. That's the thing I want to dive into with you because, but first, I think people listening probably know who you are, given that you have 4.7
bold assumptions.
Bazillion. You kind of get around, Cooper. You kind of get around there on the Twitters, on the Farcasters, on the podcast circuit.
Is that a compliment or?
Yeah. We 100%. Get up there, baby. Let's go. Yeah. I think sort of maybe people have different sort of takes, but depending on when they saw you, listen to you, you have been focused on many things. I think I met you back when we're still farming, pool 2 on in DeFi Summer. Then social tokens and then NFTs and music NFTs has sort of been the big focus for yours sort of the last little while. But I know you're always sort of building towards sort of the expansion of those things and leaning into some edges there. So help us understand what you're focused on right now. Like what is Coop Records? What is your main focus?
Well, quickly, what I'll say is that the pool 2 farming still lives on. Shout out to Refi. If you're on Farcaster, you probably know what's going on. There's a nice little meme coin restaking protocol that's been pretty good the last couple weeks here. Anyways, for those that don't know, hello, my name is Cooper. I'm the founder of Coop Records, which is an on-chain record label, and we're helping artists drop their music on-chain. And so we're typically working with artists who have never touched crypto before. You know, they have about 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, but they have never been interested in crypto because either they didn't need to be or it just was not something that was attractive to them because they heard about NFTs, they heard about, pump and dumps, and they really just view it as this really scary space that they don't want anything to do with. So what we do is we set up a wallet for the artists. We upload their songs to platforms like Song.camp. We run campaigns on platforms like Boost, Layer 3, Coinvise, help drive mints to their music. And then on channels like Farcaster, we're building a community where the intention here is that the collectors share in the upside of the success of our music. And so we have a hyper sub that we just set up a couple of months ago, but recently upgraded to hyper sub V2. And by subscribing to our hyper sub, we share, the ETH that we make from our mints with our collectors and with our subscribers, with the intention of really building this system that if you are a collector or an artist that is part of our label, you are sharing in the upside of all of the music that we release on a daily basis.
Interesting. Okay, so there's a few things I want to get into. One, maybe conceptually, I'm curious where your head's at here, because we sort of went through this era of NFTs as speculative assets, right? These big pumps and sort of the resulting bear market. And it seems like there's sort of a shift in understanding or the sort of belief around what an NFT is, from a thing that's just going to go up 1,000x into maybe where we're at today is more of like a sign of support, right? So Zora mints being the majority of NFT mints, and I guess in music as well. I'm curious, how has your thinking changed as far as like what music NFTs are from maybe 18 months ago to like the stuff you're doing today?
I kind of view it closer to the way that we think of streaming on Spotify, where you're not trying to like collect a rare limited thing. Like it's just convenient. And what I mean by that is that all of our drops these days are unlimited open edition. So it's not like there's a fixed supply of them. They're not meant to be, traded from $2 to $20. They're all free mints. And so they're as cheap as the platform will allow us. Now we can get into like the cost of a free mint, I think is not really free and needs to be changed. But that being said, it's really easy for us to sell to artists now because we take away this need for them to worry about speculation, this need for them to worry about utility, about someone spending hundreds of dollars and what are they getting back. We go to them and say, hey, someone's buying this record for $2, $2.50. They're getting a download of the song, they're getting a comment, and they're getting a seat in the audience. And so when you strip it down to the basics, I think it makes a lot more sense to the artist because there's no longer like this whole obligation to have to be super heavily involved in the space. Now, the more important question is, why would someone collect that and what's the value in that for them? And frankly, I don't have like this is the reason why answer. It's actually what we're doing every day is trying to better understand the incentive alignment and motivation around collecting these open editions. But from a very high level, I would say for us as a record label, it's a very strong business model because we can just be adding more content on chain and not need to worry about like selling one out before we move on to the next one. It's kind of just this always on system. And the way that I like to think about it is the individual songs are not meant to be speculated on. It's the core level brands, us as a record label or these artists that will eventually kind of accrue that speculation. And so we're just building the building blocks right now that's saying we sell open editions, we take that ETH and we put it into more incentive aligned, funnels that are basically going to allow people to have that more crypto native experience that I think they once expected from collecting the NFTs themselves.
I mean, what is your sort of the constellation of potential reasons why people collect? Like, what do you think are like the leading reasons right now?
Status. There's a very, very small amount of people in this world that do care about supporting these artists and want to be seen for being a big collector of theirs. And if you think about it, by spending $20, $30, upwards of $50 maximum, you can be like the first name that artist will see when they visit that page and they look at what's going on there. And then, something we're trying to build towards is more like belonging within the community. Obvious answer, but if you are someone who's into music and you want to be supporting these different artists or talking about what's happening, I think this is an area that we need to do a lot of work on. But, the same early days of FWB, early days of Seed Club, you kind of know the vibe there. Like you didn't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars of tokens or something really rare to be seen in that community or to be able to find belonging or just, friends, for lack of a better term. And so that's kind of the intention that we want to create here. And the last one that I'd say, which is the most minimal one, but one that I personally use the most, is a download of a song. If you go onto SoundCloud and you try and download music, you're typically using like a really shitty converter. You can go to Beatport and buy music, but that's not really too common. There's like pirating websites that you can use, but slightly frowned upon, although very commonly used. And so it may sound simple and obvious, but being able to buy a song on the site, scroll down and hit the download button there is a very actually good use for DJs like myself, and something that I want to be pushing more over time is really encouraging this like DJ culture of new music that I find to be very culturally relevant in the world today.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see how fast expectations and interests shift, but it feels like we get back down to some of the core human level ones: belonging, status, probably like the right ones to sort of circle in around. To me, some of our more interesting conversations over the last little while.
Look at what Peace is pulling up here. He's like trying to download some music and he's getting spammed with ads. It's kind of what I mean. Like if anyone's ever tried to like download music on the internet, like there's actually not really a great way to do it. And I know that sounds like extremely rudimentary, but I actually find it to be quite a valuable use case. And if you ever go on Spinamp or Sound, if you go to Spinamp, you can just easily download all your music like right from your collector profile. And I think it's pretty compelling. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I thought it was worth commenting on.
No,
it's really amazing. It's like this website is crazy. Amazing. Anyway,
so is that a blockchain ad there? The max scalability?
Oh, maybe
Mega ETH. Special. Is that what we're into today? It's Mega ETH. But
apparently, Mega ETH is going to pop off.
That's what I heard.
Word on the street.
That's
new arbitrage.
That's what Twitter was telling me. Okay. So yeah, the more interesting conversations we've had have been around like the real, let's call it leaning in that you've been doing around on-chain sort of growth hacking, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is like it kind of embedded in the story you're telling around what you are doing around NFTs. This is the idea of using distribution tools like Boost, like Layer 3, Galaxy, Coinvise, these networks that are allowing somebody to come up and essentially put an incentive on a transaction that makes it more compelling to mint or engage in that transaction. And at least last time we chatted, you were one of the more active users of many of those platforms. And I wonder if maybe you can talk through what you're doing specifically on the music side. And then also I think there's sort of like it's hard to ignore that you have an absurd amount of followers on Farcaster. And so my guess is you've been doing something on that side as well to really try to grow it. So I'd love to talk about those things. So let's take music first. Like what are you doing there and why is it so compelling?
Sure. So Peace and I just pulled up a song that we released recently by A-Trip. And this was a partnership we did with Hire, where they basically gave us a grant to run Boost for that song with the Hire token. And so if you click on that song, A-Trip, Ginger, Feel Good, immediately what you'll notice here is that there's a lot of little circles on here. It has 2.3K mints. And what's really important to start with as a fundamental is the artist does not care where the mints are coming from. The artist is not sophisticated enough to think about airdrop farming, to think about, Boost, Layer 3, all these incentives. They come to a page, they see that this page looks full. They see that they have 2.3K mints, and they see that they made basically the equivalent of 500,000 streams on Spotify, having dropped this track with us 2 weeks ago. And so I just want to kind of set the expectations here, because I think so many people on crypto are like, when people are doing Boost and Layer 3, it's just NPCs and bot farmers, et cetera. I just want to call out that from like my experience, we say to every artist that we run these on-chain marketing campaigns, and they don't care. They see people collecting their music, and this is not much different from what you see on SoundCloud for a popular song, where there's a ton of spam and people are saying, buy my mixtape, buy my music, et cetera. It's almost like a normalized part of the internet. So I'll start there for a second because I just want to address that head on. What this looks like for us is that we upload the song to Sound. We go over to a site like Boost and Layer 3 and we set up a campaign. Now, what a campaign looks like is basically you're going to mint this record on Sound to fixed cost, and we're going to give you some token in return. Where it gets interesting is that you have a lot of customization around the token that you're using, the amount back that you're using, how many rewards you're offering, how much budget you're putting into it. And so for us at the label on a daily basis, we are just constantly tweaking all of those parameters. We started off using our OP that we got from retro funding. We then realized that there was more of an appetite for meme coins. So call it DGen, call it Hire, call it Enjoy, whatever it might be. And these days where we're basically at is trying to think through like, how do we create better systems and processes for our recurring collectors so that if you do collect 10, 15, 20 quests or boost of ours, that there's actually some incentive at the end of the tunnel. So I could go so much further down that rabbit hole about where I see that going and why it's interesting, but I'll pause there for a second and see if it sparks any follow-up.
Yeah, I would like to go into the future, but feel like there's some insight here we can capture. So like, what is the 2 or 3 sort of main learnings around how to go do this well today?
Honestly, if I'm being really direct with you, it was just about being early to it. Like, a couple of months ago, the reality is there just wasn't a lot of people that were like hip to running Boost or Quest. And so they were just very profitable to be doing. I mean, if you think about it, you could give someone 50% back on a mint and you still get the 50% in profit. So every time that someone completes a Quest or a Boost, you're still profiting from it. I would say to your point about like, what can someone learn from this? It's really just as simple as going into like Boost Manager. So manager.boost.xyz, just setting them up and just playing around with the different parameters, like try different tokens, try different cashback, etc. But I don't know if there's like maybe a different way you want me to.
Yeah. I mean, like, are you doing stuff specifically to try to like minimize the bots? Are you trying to like is the reward trying to be like 1-to-1 to cost? Is it 50% to 1 to cost? Like, is there sort of like a sweet spot there that is actually, most effective at driving actions and generating, because like the revenue generated from these mints, I'm assuming, is what allows you to kind of spin it into doing more and more. So there's a bit of a flywheel you're trying to unlock there.
The flywheel is definitely what we're trying to unlock. I should be very transparent that within the Boost community, the Boost creator community, the focus currently is more around like grants, basically. So like going to token projects and saying like, hey, can we please have a grant of 5, 10K tokens, sometimes upwards of 50K worth of tokens that you can distribute that to new wallets, essentially. And so it's almost this pitch of like me being a curator. I can get your token into the hands of new wallets. And if I'm giving people $1.70 of your token, in aggregate, it's actually not going to create that much sell pressure relative to like the brand awareness exposure that you get as a whole. I would say, to your point about like where the sweet spot is currently, we're finding that it's about like 75% back right this second. And the reason for that, getting very into the weeds here, I just love this shit, but just call me out because like I feel like sometimes it just gets like annoying to talk about. But there's a referral fee that you get when you mint a song from a third-party platform. So if you go up to the top of this page here, they're looking at Peace Node, you see that link that says Project Song.xyz right there? Let's see if it actually, and then link out there. What is your URL say? Do you see a referral link in there, or does it just have the link to the song? Okay, so this is just like a blank open link right here. If you mint directly through Boost Inbox, there's like a referral fee that's going back to us as the label for, basically referring you to that mint. And what we're seeing now is that people who are smart about doing Boost are basically enforcing their own referral fee. So they're basically going out to Sound, they're adding in their own address, they're collecting with their referral fee of their own, and then they're claiming this reward. And so for them, in many cases, if it's higher than 70%, they're actually making a very marginal amount of ETH because they're kind of capturing that referral and that token reward. But something that we are working a lot to streamline, and honestly, one of the biggest design phases right now is how do you enforce that referral link permanently as a curator like Coop Records, as a creator on Zora or something like that, because the referral fee is actually a very substantial part of the mint transaction. And one of the difficulties we've been having as a label is you can't enforce it. You know what I mean? Like you can put it right in front of them. You can pray that they're going to use it. But at the end of the day, it's not easy to always make sure that that's enforced, and it ends up becoming like a very big part of our business when it's hitting, and something that we're spending a lot of time trying to optimize for moving forward.
Got it. I think there's going to be like a big moment for these sort of distribution tools in the next 6 months to a year. I think there's a lot of them have been building for a while, and I think are going to be making some pretty big moves. So it's definitely something that is interesting. I'd even put like Daylight in this category as well, right? This growing set of tools for on-chain distribution. And I think, right now the sense is, I think, the most compelling reason to go do this sort of stuff, I think that you've given me is like the fuck around and find out answer, right? Like there's clearly value in getting your brand in front of other people, being early to those things and willing to experiment is a huge advantage as well. We just think back to Facebook advertising becoming a thing and the delta between people who knew what they were doing versus who didn't, and how long it took for that sort of to become professional. So I think we're in a similar world there, though obviously even probably a little bit more murky given the uncertain value at the end of this. And I think it's also challenging to really put a number or percentage on like how many of these people are coming to do these things because they see an opportunity to farm, boost, or layer 3, et cetera. And so there's sort of these
95%.
Right, exactly. So you sort of have these sort of ephemeral opportunities that are worthwhile to sort of lean into, which you're making use of to get artists on chain and excited about it in an easy way. On the flip side, it seems as if there's sort of like like you've been leaning into growing your Farcaster account very, very aggressively. 375,000 users. I think you're on a suggested user list for a while, if that still exists today, but have also been hustling. And have you been doing any sort of boost related stuff for Farcaster, or how are you sort of leaning in and growing that channel there?
No boost related stuff for my personal account. We were running some campaigns with Layer 3 where we would have you follow either our brand account at Coop Rex or the channel. But then in the last couple of weeks, we actually started pushing those follow requests to just projects we're excited about. So Sonata was a channel that we were pushing people towards. We've been pushing people towards the Louder channel recently. I would push people towards my CTO's account, our VP of Music's account, to our artist accounts. So basically, like if an artist of ours is active on WordCast and they're trying to get distribution, we'll push like 1,000 followers to their account just so that they kind of feel like some incentive to come and spend time there. Because for a lot of new people to WordCast, it's really lonely and very quiet for a long time. If you're not consistent, it's pretty good. You guys should all do what he just did there. I highly recommend that. It's actually a very a good thing to do. But yeah, I would say that for me, definitely haven't been using it as much to like push my personal account. I kind of see it as like a way to seed accounts that are newer to the platform that we want to be driving interest towards, and just give people, frankly, a little bit of dopamine so that they feel like they are being seen and kind of have a platform to be able to utilize, versus just shouting into the void when they have 5 followers and are getting 0 likes on everything that they do.
Wow, shots fired, Peace.
Damn. Where were they fired at?
At you, dude, for getting 3 likes on banger tweets. Tweets are so good.
Yeah, that's life, What can you do?
Amazing, man. Well,
I have a question. I'm wondering, you mentioned like earlier on that like you were using boosts to kind of like start the flywheel, but I am wondering, like you said a lot even too that was like more from the artist perspective, and I'm wondering if that is the flywheel that you're leaning, or like what are the ingredients that you're looking at? Like, what is this flywheel? Is it about getting more people to collect? Is it about getting more artists to just like actually use these apps and be onboarded into this thing, or what is the goal?
Yeah, I mean, esoterically, those are the key objectives, right? It's more great music on chain. It's more people collecting it. It's more artists on chain. I think that the flywheel that Jess was referring to, the one that I agree with is the correct one to zoom in on here, is that we can be investing out of our own balance sheet. And so we don't have to go and get grants from projects to be able to fund these boosts. We're able to run them at a net profitable margin on every completion, so that we can keep recycling that into new releases, old releases, whatever it might be. And for the last 2 months, I mean, we were doing a great job of that. I think we made like 60 ETH in profit from just like running these boosts and layer 3 requests and whatnot. The reality is that today people have started to wake up to it. And so the, incentives to do this have gotten higher. The cash back rewards have gotten higher, and the net profit per release is definitely smaller than it was like a month or 2 ago. But yeah, just to kind of echo that flywheel, it's basically run it at a profitable amount for us as the label, so that every single mint we have drives a very marginal amount of ETH, and then just keep reinvesting that into more boosts across more of our catalog and expanding the size of the vision as a whole, if you will.
It's amazing.
You're mute.
Nice, we did it. There's that Doom dashboard that we can share as well that has all of the stuff on chain, so you can go through the data yourselves, which is kind of fun. All right. Well, I want to shift gears here a little bit as we're coming up the bottom of the hour, and we got a lot to get through. And we're talking about on-chain distribution. I think one of the biggest challenges to distribution in Web3 is kind of the Web2 platforms. Twitter not giving us links. Add on to that, the sort of the challenges of using multiple apps and bookmarks, and sort of like the clunkiness of having to switch through a bunch of things. And so out of the Solana ecosystem this week was something called Blinks, blockchain links. If you want to bring that up, Peace. And people got pretty stoked about it. And sort of reminds me of Mask Network launching 2 years ago, and if all of a sudden I was able to like tip and send something on my tweets. But basically, what Blinks are is they essentially leverage a bookmark, which is essentially the Phantom wallet. I think they have a couple other wallets, and you're able to go in, turn it on, and then on something like Twitter specifically, as you're seeing on the screen here, it superimposes specific actions buttons that you can go do. So theoretically, it should remove the need to send somebody to a website or, to multiple different apps. And instead, maybe you can do it directly through your Twitter account or the webpage you're using. Curious if you have thoughts on this launch. You excited about it? Is this a big thing? Not a big thing?
I mean, bullish Solana is what I would say, like, is my most immediate reaction. Now, I think the question is like whether or not this actually gets usage, which always seems to be the case in these kind of examples. But I mean, just at first glance, it just looks exactly like Frames, but just embedded into Twitter. And so I think that it's a very positive signal.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing to me, right? It's because it's my take is exactly the same. Fuck yes. Bullish Solana because they're experimenting with stuff. Bullish if we can actually get layers, sort of a layered approach to crypto UX to work and using these channels. But nobody's going to fucking use these things, dude. It's just like the fact that you have to go install. Okay, so many people have Phantom installed. Great. You have to go in and select something on, and it's only on desktop. I think that was my take was like, people are excited, but I think that they're going to be disappointed in this current iteration. And I think it's pokes to like a bigger question, which is like, is crypto going to be able to play nice with Web 2 networks that exist already, or do we have to go build our own? And I just don't have a lot of confidence that we're going to be able to go play nice with Web 2 networks in the near term, or at least that they'll give us give those tools sort of like the access that is needed to go and confidence that's needed to go build those tools out. So it feels like we sort of have like Solana, and actually the DMs I got were like, you're an ETH Cope maxi saying that the blinks aren't going to work. And I was like, that's pretty fucking ridiculous. But sort of this world of like, let's augment the Web 2 versus let's go build whole new networks. And I think I just find myself living in like, we need to go build whole new protocols or networks to enable us from day one. Because you need that sort of deep integration, I think, for it to actually work effectively. And you probably need the confidence that these rules aren't going to be changed to really want to go and develop a whole kind of platform there.
Yep. I agree with your intention. I think that the argument could be made that downloading a new extension is equally as challenging as downloading a new social application and building that from the ground up. So
probably easier, frankly, but I wonder if it is as compelling. Yeah,
exactly. But I think that the intention of just being able to make on-chain transactions in the feed is like 100% exciting. I think you called out Mastercard, where it was kind of the same thing where it was like, oh, we're going to be tipping in crypto all the time now. And then it was like, never. Like, it definitely wasn't a default part of the flow. And I think that was why frames got so much love within like Farcaster and tipping and stuff, is because it was a default thing. Like, you saw it happening very frequently. People were building around it. Like, there was excitement about what it could offer. This to me just feels kind of like a nice new thing, nice new shiny thing that I think people will use as like a calling card is why Solana should go up. And for what it's worth, this might be like a little bit of a hot take, but I actually think that Solana is probably going to outperform ETH this cycle. I'm not saying like one chain is better than the other or anything like that, but strictly from like a financial, opportunity, I think that Solana's going to outperform ETH.
I don't think that's a hot take. I wonder.
Maybe for this podcast, but yeah, I don't think it's like a hot take within the general crypto sphere, but I don't know.
Interesting.
I feel like people on Farcaster specifically just like really still anti-Solana.
I think, it's fascinating just to see how bifurcated worldviews are depending on which apps you're spending your time on. I think if you're spending your time on Twitter, Solana's pretty bullish. If you're spending your time on Farcaster, base.
Yep.
It's interesting. I love this stuff so much. I mean, like there was a wallet I was using a while back called Frame, and when you had that extension in, it just like listened to Twitter for all the .eths and would show like what everyone was holding, show whose ENS was verified, and that like blew my mind as far as what a Chrome extension could do for crypto on the internet in general, but no one gave a shit. So that's life.
I think it's defaults, right? That's what it comes down to, and you need to have these are all social networks to a degree, right? You need to have a meaningful group of people who are using these things for them to be useful. But I think on the flip side, if they're able to get it to work, then it can be incredibly sticky if people are finding it super compelling. But I agree. I love these experiments. I think we've seen this even in the early days of Web 2, where platforms would exist and then developers would add functionality over top of it. It would be hot for a week or two, but really it's like tough to build sort of sustainable behaviors and, nonetheless businesses on top of those things. So that's kind of where my take is here, but cool. I don't know. Has anybody here sent a blink or done anything like that? Even turned it on in Phantom?
I have it.
Yeah, me neither.
Same.
Interesting. All right. Well, best of luck to Blockchain Links. I'm not trying to...
I like the name. I do like the link. The blink name, I should say.
Same. That's actually probably the thing I hate the most about it. I don't hate anything. It's maybe the only thing I hate about it is blinks.
I hate the word blockchain, but I like the word blinks.
Oh, see, I'm the exact opposite. Exact opposite. Give me blockchain. Don't give me blinks. I'm a purist here.
blockchain knob blinks.
Yeah. All right, let's continue on here. We got a bunch to get through. Scoop is a new, what do you call it? Like human traffic? No, that's the wrong way to say it. Personal brand trading game, card game on Farcaster. Wait, what's he call it? Okay, I thought there might be a simple description there that I'd be able to write on. So Scoop by Fafo LLC, which is
It's amazing.
exceptional name. It's, I guess I would call it socialify. I mean, I wouldn't call it socialify because I hate that word as well. I'm just trying to take some stance here ideologically.
Yeah, clearly. Power to you.
Thank you. Yeah, and but yeah, in what is commonly known as socialify category, this idea of being able to sort of build these mini games within social apps that people, in this case, are sort of buying, selling, trading, and profiting off the relative popularity of a user on Farcaster. I think it launched this week. It's been in development for a while. And I mean, it's slick. It's super slick. You get to go design your own cards. You can go and buy and sell. I think I put this as sort of like the evolution of, say, Fantasy Top and that sort of set of games where people are sort of like, oh, here's an interesting category. Here's all these new mechanics that have emerged, and people are kind of putting them together in interesting ways. I think Wildcard, I think is the name of the app we had on last week. It's sort of a similar type thing. This one is got a level of polish and completeness that I think is really notable. Have you been able to play around with it? Are you huge on here already, Coop?
I wouldn't say I'm huge on here. Your boy's number 26, but I have invested 1.25 ETH. Wait for it. And my holdings are currently worth 2 ETH.
Let's go,
brick
baby.
by brick, slowly but surely, building up a little portfolio. I got some cards in here. Now, to be honest with you, I've basically just been using it to just buy one of my friend's things. I haven't been trying to go like big on really investing heavy in these things because I feel like it's something that I've seen a couple times before. I was really big into.
This is my question. Like we've seen this before. Like, what's your thought around this category generally? Is there still more innovation or juice to be squeezed here, or is this just played out?
I think that something's going to work eventually. I just don't know if it will work in the confines of the existing like community that is using the app. I think there's just a ceiling on it. Like I was really into trading FAR cards when they launched. I thought they were super interesting. It was a really novel frame. Was early onto it. Made a decent amount of ETH from just like putting it in through like a pretty janky UI. To your point, this is a lot more polished. It's a lot easier to understand. Friendtech, I also did pretty good trading on. I got a pretty fat airdrop out of that. Didn't really do Fantasy Top, but you mentioned Wildcard. There was like a few versions of this same concept. And so I think that it's worth paying attention to how many people are trying to crack this exact nut, but I struggle to see the escape velocity in it right this second, in the absence of there being new people coming in that want to buy into like this guy or me or, some of the bigger accounts on Farcaster, which has a relative ceiling in and of itself as it stands today. Yeah,
I feel like the main challenge here is like the game can be like, so many of these games seem very fun for a minute, and that's because being early seems to matter more than much else. And that quickly creates that ceiling is like, it actually just feels like there's this big sort of wall around new users coming to join. I mean, I very much felt that around Fantasy Top, like, wasn't there for the first, saw it super early. It was like, I don't fully see this. And then, it was there maybe a week after it launched more publicly. And, it felt like the game had kind of run away on me there. And I go like, I'm just going to I'm exit liquidity if I step in at this time. And so I think there's sort of like these two ceilings, like ceilings within the crypto natives already who realize, okay, you got to be first and got to play this game. And if you're not there early, it feels like you should have timed out. And that's not to even mention the challenges of sort of getting new people in to use and collect these things. So it does feel like there's sort of an ephemerality around these types of things that you kind of probably need to play into. And that should shape at least the near-term strategy of people building these types of things.
This guy's getting crazy engagement on his cast, though. He's getting like 2K likes on pretty much all of them. Doesn't surprise me. I mean, typically you see with these apps that like the founder of them is the one that's getting the most like volume on the platform. But it is interesting to see the traction here. And one thing that I am looking for with Scoop that I think is lacking in other similar games is a more tight-knit relationship between usage of Farcaster and the performance of these cards. So I think a big reason why Fantasy Top was utilized as much as it was and it got as much volume as it did is because there was actually like a very clear game to be played there around like who's going to have the most engagement. And, you know, it was less about like who's popular within just looking at their page or like optically versus who's actually getting the most impressions, like the most daily tweets, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that that's my hope for more of these. And I think what was part of the reason of Scoop that I was into originally is my understanding is they are trying to better link your Farcaster activity with the performance of your cards. And I think that that's an area that I am excited to watch unfold here.
Yeah. I mean, talented team. So excited to see where that goes. I should go buy some cards. I haven't done it yet, but I'm in there. Coop, what are you trading at right now?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of another thing is like the trading of these things gets pretty like inaccessible pretty fast. Yeah. 0.027. So nothing too crazy.
Okay. We got some room. We got some room to run.
I thought about trying to get an invite, but it's got to be one of the most undignified invites I've ever seen.
Really? You didn't like it?
No, I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was humiliated.
Oh, because you have to tweet or what?
You have to warp cast people directly, and then they generate a meme.
Interesting.
It made me laugh, but yeah,
I found that they did a good job. So if you sign up for Scoop, it sort of does a pretty simple kind of what is this, and then you have to sign in, and then if you don't have an invite code, it actually shows you all of your friends who have invite codes that you can message, which I thought was actually pretty slick. I didn't realize you have to actually cast it, but it showed me that Brian Flynn had a bunch of invites, and so I just hit him up through text message, and I got an invite, and then I'm in, baby. So something interesting. Like, there's some good UX stuff they've unlocked there. All right, let's move on. Moonshot, pump.fun was having too much fun out there, pumping their fees, having a good time. And so DEXScreener, right? I always can mix this up. Is it DEXScreener that did this?
It is.
Yeah, DEXScreener launched Moonshot, which is
the truth.
Yes. So thoughts on this? So obviously pump.fun's printing a ton of cash, even to this day, as meme coins are falling off. If they've fallen off, I don't know where we're at in the general zeitgeist right now. But there's still, millions of dollars a week in fees being generated by pump.fun. And so DEXScreener's like, yeah, I'm going to have some of that fun, and launched a close to a copy. I mean, it's a competitor. We'll call it a competitor. And obviously DEXScreener has, I think both pump.fun and DEXScreener kind of have this network effect of people defaulting to going there to look for a certain thing. So DEXScreener, I mean, really has much more reasons why people are defaulting to it. I think pump.fun is just like chaos, and people are going there looking for punting, the opportunity to punt the next meme coin. I thought this was a smart move by DEXScreener. Frankly, they have a bunch of eyeballs and attention, and have just been able to layer a game on top of it that generates a ton of transaction fees. You got thoughts on this, Coop?
First of all, I love DEXScreener. I use it every day, and I think it's the best place to kind of track new tokens that are launching, see what's hot, and just stay across different chains. So I use it mostly for Solana and Base, but I love the product. I think that it was a really strong move for them to launch it. I'm definitely not like using Moonshot in the sense that I'm like looking at these memes and buying them. But to our point in the Scoop conversation, I think it's indicative of a larger trend for consumer crypto companies of token launchers. You look at pump.fun, you look at Moonshot now, you look at things like Rug Fun, and at least a bunch of projects that people have been sharing to me. You could even argue like VAR terminals in this category too, that the token launch product has become like the main thing that people are focusing on. I think that for me, it kind of gets dilutive in the sense that there's so much emphasis around launching the token. There's not really a lot of focus around like how to sustain it. That being said, for a team like DEXScreener, I think that the Moonshot product is the easiest low-hanging fruit for them. And so I'm definitely in favor of it and think that it's going to result in some profitable tokens. Very few, but going to result in a few wins for people that take it very seriously.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there's like a very small, just say tens of thousands of people who are in this category of like, I'd like to go create and pump and rock these sort of meme coins. I think a large percentage of those are probably bots, but I think it's almost irrelevant here. And what pump.fun is designed is like an incredible mechanism for generating fees off of potential speculative desire. And so being able to drop that on top of a platform, it to me, it seems like when online advertising kind of broke out, and it was like, oh, here's actually how we go do ads in feeds, and it's, Facebook advertising, etc. There's a clear or like pay-per-click ads for Google, right? Here's this model that makes sense if you have attention of these specific types of people, and you just drop a business model on top of it. And I think we have a Dune dashboard, piece showing here right now. So it's still a long way to go as far as the relevance next to pump.fun, but again, this is just like, social context that people want to transact within, and you get to charge a fee on, and a pretty juicy fee on it as well. So
I heard I heard a spicy take at a Bitcoin demo day this week from the lads at DEXScreener. And I actually really liked it, because we were basically talking about how just like not special the tokens feel, because DEXScreener is so general purpose and such an amazing tool. Creating a token on DEXScreener doesn't feel as special as it does on a weird site like pump.fun. And he really brought out the point of like, when you go here now, the top trending stuff, a lot of this are just Moonshot tokens. And so DEXScreener has this like, is creating a new context now that's specific to their app that may be good and may not be good depending on how well these tokens do, basically, which is interesting.
I think that's a great call out. Yeah, they have the ability to give preferential treatment to tokens being launched through Moonshot, which is probably one of the bigger compelling reasons to do it here versus Pump. But that really requires them to actually launch some tokens that are good, which is maybe like and if you look at pump.fun, there's maybe 2 that have broken out into any sort of meaningful, or 2 or 3. They definitely drop off pretty aggressively after the top.
Pump.fun?
Yeah.
I would say there's hundreds, if not thousands, of tokens that have broken out. And I would say breaking out is anything more than like 10 mil market cap. And I don't know, maybe push back on that, but I actually think that part of the reason why Pump Fun is so huge now is because there's a shit ton of tokens. Like the Jason Derulo token's a Pump Fun token. Like every celebrity meme coin has been a Pump Fun token so far. And I don't know, for me, I think you can look at this on the surface and just go, this is garbage, I don't want to pay attention to it. But I look to the amount of people that are using it, and specifically like a lot of the celebrities that are coming in and using it. And I think that it is fascinating and undeniable in terms of it being like a meta that's worth paying really close attention to.
I agree with that. You have to pay attention to it. I think like the idea of, maybe it is a sense of scale, right? Like, we have a $200 million token. The second one is about $40 million market cap. I think it's worth comparing what that might be if teams had done a different way. Like, I think that clearly people are using this, and it's part of the meta right now. And it's a new class of token that's emerged. I guess I think there's sort of like these 2 categories, right? Like there's token launcher based products that sort of have their own context or make it easier, et cetera. And the dynamics that exist there. And then I think there's people who will kind of go out and launch their own tokens. And my guess is the next version of celebrity coins, et cetera, will probably own more of their own stack than using something like pump.fun, but we shall see. But I think mostly this game isn't about like actually having huge winners. It's about trying to be like marginally better than others at picking the ones that will break out. And if you look at most token charts, they're down and to the right pretty aggressively. But on the whole, it's this machine that's just throwing out interesting memes, and it's brilliant in its simplicity.
Also worth calling out, I think that the market cap is priced in Sol. Could be wrong on that. Double check me, but I think that that's Sol. And so I don't know, at least on my perspective, like I picked up some Michi this week. I picked up some Billy this week. Like I think that there's so many shitty ones that I think people are trying to like consolidate into the memes that they think are really good. And I just kind of see it as a way to like validate the strength of different memes and almost like a rotation like into tokens that are like, seen as very, mainstream. Like something that I'll see is people will post like pictures of, celebrities posting about Michi, not even as like I'm buying this meme coin, but like Ariana Grande posted the cat on her story, right? Totally. And that's kind of the game that I think is being played here is like, what is a token picture that is simple enough that it can be posted on people's, Web2 profile to kind of bring them into the space. Not a new take by any means, but I think it's just worth emphasizing that I don't think it's all just like pump and dump action. I think that the underlying intention of like create simple instruments that can be compelling to normal people is actually very interesting to me.
I think the magic is in how well they've been able to monetize pump and dump action. I mean, pump and dump action is not the right way to say it. I would say more artificial actions. There is a ton, like if everybody left for a period of time, there's still a ton of money to be made here, which I think is interesting. And I do think it's, if I just index on that alone, I think you're right. You miss like what the games people are doing and playing in around this stuff are actually leaning into. So Moonshot, interesting. Okay. Other big news this week, Blast has blasted off. Gold farmer analysts are in disbelief of how wrong they were. This chain is over. This chain is back. We're going to the moon. We're not going to the moon. I couldn't get a read of this from crypto. Do people like this? Do people not like this? I don't know. I don't know. I think that people liked that it dumped a little and then went up, but it's 2.7 bill FDV. So I'm assuming if you were farming pretty aggressively here that it, it wasn't life-changing, but I'm sure it wasn't nothing. But I would say my general sentiment I've seen across the board has been disappointment about the level of farming that has taken place relative to the output of it, and a dissatisfaction within like just basically like the expectation wasn't met relative to how much people thought they were going to get out of using this chain every day for the last couple of months. Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing, right? So the best way Blast was framed to me was like, okay, we believe that there will be a few winning general purpose L2s. And so how do we go? So becoming a winning general purpose L2 is valuable because it'll be, priced relative to ETH as a whole, and maybe the long tail won't. And so how do you go get into that bucket? And that the strategy was, well, if we use like the most aggressive growth tactics we possibly can to really realize that this is purely a go-to-market, that you win based on go-to-market in this category, how do we go build that? And so Blast, points, gold, TVL locking, all this sort of stuff was really designed around that. And it worked, I think, really well. The challenge is like, how do you moderate that? How do you, can you lean, if you lean fully into this is going to be your, farm this and you're going to earn life-changing money. It's not what they did, but there's sort of an intention behind that. Pretty hard to hit that number for most people. And so, like the balancing expectation versus what's being delivered here, is going to continuously be challenging for any of these sort of rewards-based growth programs. So yeah, I think to me, it's really interesting to see what happens after this. Like, I mean, we've seen a fairly big drop in TVL in the last little while, kind of expected, I guess. But I also think that there's so like okay, how do we reward people and manage expectations? There's also this, low float, high FDV kind of narrative that's happening as well. And I think, well, maybe there's some misaligned expectations around the rewards. This launching at $2-ish billion valuation, I think was a smart move. It feels like they probably could have pushed that higher if they really wanted to, but they probably would have had some more meaningful dumping after this. I think at a $2.5 billion valuation, it feels like it's under other L2s that are sort of a little bit more developed. And I think people have a sense, at least my sense is that there's still, it seems like a fair number to come out at. So, just imagine, I know you've been in these conversations, just like the multitude of levers that you kind of have to pull and you try to get them in the right order to actually make these things successful. And it isn't just copy and paste what somebody else has done, and especially as you're trying to push new sort of mechanisms forward. So it's really interesting. I would love to be in that room, just understanding the various things they're trying to optimize for here.
Totally. I think that there is something really interesting about the ongoing nature of this. It kind of goes back to our early conversation around like Boost and whatnot, where there's very much a distaste around like airdrop farming and around like yield and incentives and whatnot. But I think that Blast leaning into this being like the core mechanism for their protocol at large is very fascinating. Most of these other chains, they just lead up to the airdrop, they drop the airdrop, and then they have no ongoing system. Like maybe they'll do like retroactive PGF in the case of Optimism, but very long time horizon, very manual, very much applied type process, versus this feels a lot more programmatic. And it's like apps are being rewarded, usage is being rewarded, TVL is being rewarded. So I think we got to come back and look at this over like 6 to 12 months and use that as an assessment of whether or not this was successful, as opposed to right now, it's basically exactly where I expected it to be. And I think that that's actually an opportunity for people if they decide to take it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Optimism and Blast are running very similar strategies, just in different ways, right? Like it's how do we do these consistent airdrops that engage attention, and they both designed it in a way that allows them to have a lot of control over what those rewards look like, right? So yes, it's automated, but it's very manual in a certain way. Like the rules are being decided by a small group of people. And I think that is in stark contrast maybe to how some other L1s have grown and say maybe Arbitrum in the LT space, they're doing much more of a grants type of a process. So, but I mean, I think it's likely that this type of strategy leads to more success in my mind, but what the fuck?
Did you get any tokens, or did you use the chain at all, Jess?
I did. I kind of bridged some over a while back. I haven't checked to see what I get, so I don't know if I'm happy or unhappy yet, but I don't think it's going to be
same here.
Meaningful enough to move the needle.
Oh, like a couple tokens there. I bought yield token. That ended up going down super. I bought yield like what I thought it was the bottom, like down here, and it just kind of kept tapering out. Fantasy Top, got like my little Fantasy Top airdrop, but didn't really put a ton of ETH into Fantasy Top. A lot of my friends actually did pretty good trading it, but I also think one of the big things to call out here is that I think there needs to be a more clear understanding of like why this chain's apps are unique relative to one another, because it does feel like it's the same playbook recreated. And I think every chain needs a killer app for it to see, real breakout success.
Yeah, it's the second or third place to deploy right now rather than the first. Though, I think, I would take. I bet something interesting comes out of it, right? Like, all right. Man, we just never. I'm a shitty time manager here, Cooper. We're going to go to what the fuck is Peace Doing Onchain, but I also just want to shout out to Jacob slid into the chat and just slyly suggested that he's given Peace beta access to the new Zora app that's kind of going around. So just want to shout out the Zora app is out there, slowly leaking into the wild, and people seem to be having fun with it. Cheryl keeps double tapping and minting all the time. So, hopefully we get some invite codes here soon that we can give out, Jacob. Give us some invite codes. That'd be fun. All right, Peace, what the fuck are you doing on chain?
What the fuck is Peace doing on chain?
Okay, this is actually so perfect that we have you on, Coop. I've been heads down this week because I've been primarily working on two things, one of which is an IE rebrand, which we're launching next week, and I'm really excited for it. But the other is Song.camp's Audiato. Audiato is a minting platform. It is a opinionated instance of Zora, not quite a client, but it's a place where you can go and easily create music on chain. So it's just a super streamlined upload flow and a place for people to come and collect your music. And so, this is basically a preview of this music experience that we've been working on. And I'm super excited about it because the goal is just make a place that's super easy to upload and listen to music. And I ignored a call from our team, so maybe Russ is working on stuff. Right now we have an earlier. Oh, nice. So it's live actually on Song.camp. So if you make music, you can come here and actually post a new song. All you need is a name, your audio file, and a cover image, and it'll make a little Zora mint, and you'll show up on Zora, and you'll show up in line here on our latest online music. And this was my recent mint called New Beat. And it's just a 30-second beat. But so this is what I've been up to this week, and I'm super stoked about it.
So instead of consuming, you are creating on chain.
This time I am. Yeah.
Wild shift in the creating, but cool. Can we just go back to the homepage again, please, or whatever that first?
Yeah. So we introduced this into the base hackathon, and so we're submitting it as, we didn't want to do it just as Song.camp because Song.camp is probably going to be ever evolving, and we are excited to get back into like really leading songwriting camps and doing more token experiments, but we wanted to create a permissionless way for people to like get involved and put songs up. And so we made a joke name. We called it Audiato.
That's incredible. I love the amount of mushrooms you probably did and got stuck in some sort of outhouse related to the wilderness and came up with that. So congratulations. Can people go use this today, or are we dropping links?
Yeah, you can use it today. So it's live at Song.camp. Yeah.
Audiato.xyz wasn't available.
Yeah, that wasn't available. But you'll get Audiato in your browser. No, we didn't try for Audiato.com.
Miss. Amazing. All right, go check out not Audiato.xyz but Song.camp for all your Audiato glory opportunities.
Can I comment on this quickly before we shift to lightning round?
Please.
Yeah. First of all, absolutely love the intention of a better music experience on top of Zora. I think that it was definitely very much needed, and I'm very in favor of this. I'm also a huge advocate of Song.camp. I thought that it was a really, really strong intention. I think that my reaction here is I'm less excited about like open, easy way to upload music and more about like heavily curated focus on Song.camp specific music. I think one of the biggest reasons why platforms like Sound are struggling right now is that there's just too much bad music, and I think people are just uploading stuff that's not desirable, and it kind of leads to this experience where you don't want to spend time there. And so when I look at this page that we're looking at here, the Song.camp section is what stands out to me the most. And I think the more that there can be a more consolidated, curated effort towards Song.camp music to start, that will eventually branch out into a larger sort of easy upload flow for anyone here. I think that would be something that I would like to see more of personally.
Totally. I really agree. I think, that's part of, I think, why we named it Audiato, is because this is our homepage now, but we will not be managing a discover feed or anything, but we want to keep a post new song, because when you mint on here, you get a discrete page that is just your song with the collect functionality here. So it's more about making something that people can mint and share and have on their own than it is about the feed. Because I agree with you. There's a lot of bad stuff, and I don't want to stop them from minting it, but I also can't
stop them, man.
Somebody's got to stop them.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into the lightning round before we have to log off here. Give me a couple lightning bolts here.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. I found some links that Josh sent. Okay, yeah, this one. Is this really what he sent?
Bullish ton. I don't know what that was right before, but bullish ton.
Well, we'll talk about that. Coffee is basically a caffeine pump and dump.
Okay, fair enough. True.
Yeah, fair. I get it. As a seems pro matcha here in a way that is kind of offensive to me, but
agree.
Okay, let's get next.
But here we go. Ton has a massive distribution channel.
Scroll up to the tweet right above this one.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, so it's a comment on just like $1 billion in venture funding only going to roll-ups that have 15 users, while Bootstrap apps and Ton have 20 million plus users. What exactly has this VC funding actually achieved? Ton has a massive distribution channel equals Telegram. VCs don't have this. Very clearly a ton of interest in the Telegram ecosystem right now, but I'm not sure. Actually, well, maybe I'll turn to you. What's your vibe on? Is it Ton or Telegram? I mean, that's, I think, an important distinction. Are you excited about what's happening over there right now?
Yeah, I think that Ton is really exciting. I just can't figure out how to buy it right this second, because it's like blocked in US from like being able to use their wallet. But the wallet in the actual app is extremely well built. And I think that people are going to sleep on Ton because it has such a giant market cap already. But I expect it to do very well this cycle. And I'm definitely like very bullish on it as a token.
What I think is interesting is that the reason people are bullish on Telegram is distribution. It has yet to translate into blockchain or as like app usage on Telegram in a meaningful way. And so I think that's the interesting point to me is like, I think I generally agree. You can buy Ton on Uniswap. If you can find it there. So you'll be fine if you really
on
be able to buy it. Yeah. But the, yeah, it seems like it's still fairly disjointed in that most of these, not coin or, hamster karate, whatever the hell it's called, are very much about the distribution loops there and not at all really about the Telegram Ton ecosystem being built there. I don't think that will sustain necessarily. I expect you'll start to see more people building over there, especially as this interest heats up. I'm seeing a ton of deals that are kind of focused on that space. But I think my main takeaway from this is like, if distribution matters to you, exploring how to leverage Telegram as a distribution channel should be a very top priority right now. Easy to build, lots of interest, a lot of people using it. So yeah, I am also bullish, but I think there's sort of a disjointedness or a cleft, as some people would say, between the blockchain itself and the ecosystem and like the application and the distribution channel.
Wow, I'd never seen the wallet even until you said that, Coop, and I just like opening that up is a cool experience.
Well, you just think about it. If you have like a huge social network or messaging app that is like, you know, the founders and the core team are bullish crypto. You know, I think outside of all the other sort of stuff around Telegram and FUD, or maybe there's some realness behind it, I think like that would get anybody excited. So,
Craig, I use Telegram more than Twitter or Farcaster.
It's the core thing for me. Like, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, one more.
Consumer crypto apps will take us to the next level, but Silicon Valley mindset is just a cloning of Web2 experiences won't cut it. New experiences that help the masses earn and own are needed. Preach.
Yeah, Nick's been really going for it lately, and I've really enjoyed his takes, and I agree with this. I think that too many times we just try and copy paste the existing thing here, but I don't know, I guess I push back on it slightly in the sense that like there still is a lot to be gained from like Web2 feature parity. Like something like Dracula, I'd argue, is a good example of this, where it's just TikTok, but you can just collect the videos and like tip them with tokens. And I find that to be extremely valuable, not because they're just cloning it, but because I think there are still layers to be unlocked on top of the existing content distribution funnel. So agree, but also think that there's still value to be had there.
I think the last line is what does the most work for me. This idea of earn and own as like the first touch point versus buy and get wrecked. Yeah. Oh my God. Listen, we did great today, Cooper, because we didn't talk about the debate whatsoever. We didn't get into the debate. That was the first reference to the debate I saw, which is just Twitter doing its thing here. So best of luck to all of our American friends out there and the decisions they have to make in the next little while. Much easier to decide what new SocialFi app to go use than it's going to be to decide on. Well, maybe it's not easy. I don't know. It seems complicated.
Shout out Polymarket. That's the real one in the debate.
No doubt. People are all about that. Eh? I mean, it's going to be interesting. I love, to me, Polymarket is this thing. It's just like such obvious core infrastructure that crypto enables. And I think it still feels like it's off in its own little world, but just keeps getting bigger and bigger and more relevant. And feels like a very inevitable thing to be a major part of political and world discourse moving forward. So very cool to see.
+1.
Cool. All right. We're at the top of the hour. We got the lightning round in. I think we started it before 11, so it's official. We are successful in getting through our slate today. Cooper, thanks for hanging out with us today and talking shop. Where do you want to send people?
Pleasure as always, Jess. Go on over to Warpcast at Coop Rex at CooperTrooper.eth. That's the source, and we'll see you there.
Amazing. All right. We're back here next Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Every week we are here. Those in the chat at live.seedclub.xyz. Looks like it's getting a little heated in there. Cool. Have fun with that, y'all. I'll see you next Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern. This is Internet Explorers episode 35. See you on chain.